we got another Watch Mojo Jojo top 20 products that don't exist anymore. I'm curious to know what's. Oh, can I think of one? I don't think I can. But hey, let's see.
Honest with you, you don't want to buy any VCR. It's a dead technology.
Welcome to Watch
Well,
Mojo,
probably
and today we're counting down our picks for the
VHS.
top 20 products that don't exist anymore.
They're the guardians of obsolete formats. Betamax, 8-track, floppy disk, reel-to-reel.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most notable merchandise you can't find on store shelves anymore. Which of these do you miss the most? Let us know in the comments below.
Hey Mojoholics! For a chance to win cash prizes, play our live daily trivia challenges.
Pagers revolutionized telecommunication back in the 1950s. They were convenient, they were practical, and best of all, they were the hip new thing.
An inexpensive way to keep in touch for important calls and messages while you're away from home or office.
But over the years, a ton of worthy competition entered the fray. By the turn of the 21st century, smartphones could do almost everything a pager could, but better.
So, we're going to reinvent the phone.
They hung on for a few more years due to their increased
I
reliability,
wasn't born
but
in
eventually,
1950s,
pagers
not
just
look
couldn't keep up with
45.
the feature-rich cell phones. By 2021, most paging service providers had shuttered for good, leaving this communicator an obsolete relic of the past.
Can I ask you a question? Do you know if the hotel's pager friendly?
What do you mean?
I'm not getting a SIG on my beeper.
Number 19, Kudos. It's hard to go wrong with a good old-fashioned granola bar, but the real kicker is that Kudos bars were all a part of a sugary, well-balanced breakfast.
Kudos, I'm yours.
While they definitely had more flavor than nutrition, that didn't stop them from becoming a staple breakfast treat in the 80s and 90s.
Electrifying, granola-fying.
Still, over time, their name recognition started to dwindle. Then in 2017, a comment on the company's Facebook page confirmed that Kudos bars were officially discontinued. Given the unceremonious nature of its goodbye, we aren't crossing our fingers for a relaunch anytime soon. But you gotta give it kudos for one thing, that theme song never gets old.
Kudos, I'm yours, I'm yours.
Number 18, PB Crisps. Since their mascot is an actual peanut, it's safe to say Planters pretty much corners the market on all things nuts. As if to prove it, they entered the 90s by introducing a whole new way to enjoy their product. Enter PB Crisps, the so-called peanut butter with a crunch.
The center's so sweet. Peanut butter cream. Oh, a treat.
The cream-filled cookies were a massive hit, at least for the people who tried them. The crisp disappeared after just 3 years on shelves with no official explanation as to why. That hasn't stopped people from talking about them though.
PB Crisps and new chocolate, yes, chocolate crisps from Planters.
To this day, fans are still clamoring for a return of PB Crisps. There's even a website for it and everything. Number 17, fax machines.
Oh, yeah.
This kind of
Should've
tech
guessed.
is an increasingly dying breed. At the very least, the fax machine can be proud of its near-century-long reign as the de facto office communicator.
With Sharp's choice of fax machines, you can send documents in as little as 12 seconds to any place in the world you can phone.
But there's a lot of alternatives to compete with these days, primarily email and the internet, both of which are much less cumbersome than a modern-day telecopier. Looking at all of that, it's clear that the fall of the fax machine is more of a matter of when, not if. Sure, it still has its uses in certain fields, but compared to what else is on the market, fax machines feel like they're on their last print.
These guys ever heard of a damn fax machine?
Number 16, Delia's Catalog. Even by today's standards, having the latest and greatest fashion trends sent right to your door is a pretty compelling offer. In the 90s, it was practically a must-have. Delia's Catalog presented itself as more of a magazine than of a store, and that novel approach gave it a chokehold on the decade's fashion sense.
Because there was little to no competition in the teen market, Delia's was able to thrive.
But since the novelty of catalog orders wore off, the brand was left without anything to stand on. Later, when online shopping officially took over, Delia's once famous catalog quietly went out of print. The company's product is still around today, just without the paper version, or the brand recognition.
With crop tops, corsets, lingerie-inspired pieces, and micro mini-skirts, the Delia's today is a far cry from the tween-friendly brand it started at.
Number 15, PDAs. For as cool as a personal digital assistant sounds, there's just no need for one anymore.
Doris, the personal digital assistant from Sharp.
Everything that made it unique in the 80s is now commonplace in basically any smart device on the market. Internet access, messaging, reminders, smartphones and computers do all of that, and so much more. The steady decline of PDA sales reflects as much. Just ask Apple. Their entire company almost went under after banking hard on the Apple Newton.
Hey, Dolph, take a memo on your Newton. Beat up Martin.
It also served as a cautionary tale for their competitors, most of whom have since abandoned their PDA lines. Fortunately, the tech went to good use, and several of those companies began manufacturing cell phones instead. Number 14, Netscape Navigator. This wasn't just a web browser, this was the web browser.
It seemed as if nothing could stop the driving force on the web browser marketplace that was Netscape.
Netscape Navigator's intuitive user interface helped popularize internet use, and the company was rewarded for that with incredible word of mouth. But every industry needs some healthy competition, and soon enough, Microsoft entered the ring with Internet Explorer. Incredible word of mouth. But every industry needs some healthy competition, and soon enough, Microsoft entered the ring with Internet Explorer. Accompanied by PC bundles and an unprecedented marketing blitz, the new browser utterly destroyed Netscape's rule. In fact, Microsoft's launch was so aggressive, the US Court of Law officially called it an illegal monopoly. But by then, the damage was already done. Netscape Navigator never earned back its audience and officially went off the grid in 2008.
Did you know you were still using Netscape Navigator?
Number 13, Orbitz. On paper, this infamous drink doesn't sound too bad. It was non-carbonated, relatively healthy, and even had several different fruit flavors.
Well, first off, we have vanilla orange.
However, the real issue had nothing to do with the drink's taste. It was that Orbitz wasn't fully liquid. See, the entire pitch is that Orbitz are small, gelatinous orbs that dissolve in your mouth.
Everybody was picking it up, checking it out.
As you can imagine, people didn't like having to eat their drink. Orbitz were reviewed poorly and sold even worse. To put it into perspective, they only lasted a single measly year into production before going AWOL. These days, the only place to find an Orbitz is from a collector.
I really do wish Orbitz would come back, but knowing full well the capabilities of Clearly Canadian at the moment, it's not gonna happen.
Number 12, floppy disks. In 1996, there were an estimated 5 billion of these flimsy disks in use, and that's just counting the standard version.
Come on, guys! I thought you knew better. Don't copy that floppy!
And yet, by 2007, floppy disks were already collecting dust. The culprit behind their sharp decline in sales is primarily USB drives. Oh, and memory cards. Then cloud storage.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. I know I was born in 02, but like, hey, when I had getting out of memory cards or whatever, pain, very pain.
Floppy disks simply weren't made to keep up with the rapid influx in memory technology. If anything, they took up more space than they saved.
The manufacturing of the diskettes is over, and so all of the diskettes that will be made have been made.
Their legacy isn't all doom and gloom, though. In order to make the transition easier on consumers, several computing companies use the floppy disk image as their save icon. So really, it's like they're still with us.
Everything was much easier when it was just floppy disks.
Number 11, 3G phones. The third generation of smartphones had a lot of winners. The iPhone 5, the Galaxy S9, and the Google Pixel 2, just to name a few. But as with any growing industry, there will always be a day where one era powers off so another can click on. It's not like 3G devices got canceled or anything. It's just that their framework needed to be upgraded to match the newest standards. After all, why bother keeping 3G around when 4G is technology?
Damn, who remember the old phone, the old phone back in the day? Damn. Now everything's like $5.99 or whatever. Damn. The old school battery. Look at that phone at AT&T. Oof. Future top 10 search downloads. Damn, y'all remember downloading shit back in the day? Damn, my phone old.
Logically superior, not to mention 5G. As a result of the industry's innovation, most third-generation phones will lose support by the end of 2024, and that's if they haven't already.
Flashbacks.
Number 10, answering machines. It's not really fair to say that answering machines don't exist anymore. Rather, they just don't sell as well as they used to, or really at all.
Gotta change my answering machine now that I'm alone.
It's
how my video gonna get copyrighted? Good, thank you, Mojo.
Tragic because their cousin, the voicemail, is still a very prevalent part of cellular communication. But the silver bullet of answering machines is that they're specifically tied to a person's home landline. Since those are quickly becoming extinct, the answering machine is going down with them.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Technically, you can still call any of them up and get the same voicemail-like message, but unless there's a major change in the market, answering machines are not long for the tech world.
Believe it or not, I'm not home.
Number 9. Kodak cameras. This Kodak moment ended in a camera flash. Even though they were the ones to develop the first self-contained digital camera, the company's higher-ups were extremely hesitant to shift their brand away from film rolls.
The most accurate, realistic color in print film is here.
That proved to be a fatal error, and by the time Kodak started playing catch-up, the digital market had already left them in the dust. Following a decade of rocky finances, the company officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2012.
Once great company files for bankruptcy, and now they're trying to build with whatever you can.
Thankfully, there's a happy ending for Kodak. The brand emerged from their financial woes with a new focus on printing, supplying film, and later, pharmaceuticals. But the same can't be said for their camera production. Number 8. Walkman. Way back when, Sony built a product based on the idea of cassettes on the go, and the industry hasn't been the same since.
Sony introduces the only cassette player as small as a cassette case.
The Walkman proved to be so absurdly popular, it became ubiquitous with the very concept of portable music.
You just leave it all up to me.
Including Sony's own Discman line. It's to the point that the word revolutionary doesn't feel like it does the Walkman justice. While it was inevitably overtaken by the rise of smartphones, this portable player still lives on as an iconic piece of 20th century pop culture.
Sony introduces the only cassette player as small as a cassette case. The incredible sounding Super Walkman.
Sure, it ended production in 2010, but with over 200 million units made, odds are the Walkman's legacy won't be forgotten anytime soon. Number 7. Tab. Surprisingly enough, the Coca-Cola company's first ever diet drink wasn't actually Diet Coke, it was Tab, a sugarless soda marketed to those who wanted to quote-unquote keep tabs on their weight. As one of the first beverages to tap into the diet market, Tab was an instant success. But it came under friendly fire when the Coca-Cola company introduced Diet Coke in 1982. Just like that, Tab lost its only claim to fame. However, its passionate audience was enough to keep it around for almost another 40 years. But despite their efforts, the drink shipped its last case in 2020. Coke hasn't kept tabs on it since. Number 6. Phone booths. If you're looking on the side of busy roads, you're more likely to find a Wi-Fi hotspot than a phone booth.
Pull you back.
Quite frankly, the change has been a long time coming. Ever since smartphones became the communication standard, payphones have been left in a dire place. As you can imagine, it's even worse for phone booths. Almost every single one in the United States has been torn up or converted, and that's getting off lucky compared to some other countries.
Excuse me. I'm trying to make a call here.
In Belgium, Denmark, Norway, and more, you couldn't find a working phone booth even if you wanted to. At this rate, it'll only be a few years before phone booths stop ringing worldwide.
What were they used for? In New York? Bathrooms.
Number 5. Pontiacs. General Motors revved up a lot of cars in the 20th century. So much so that they could afford to sell their Pontiac brands as less of a vehicle and more of a lifestyle.
The 65 Pontiac GTO. It's the swingin'est car.
In the late 50s specifically, this type of car was a status symbol, but as the years went on, it became a symbol that people cared less and less about. Pontiac had restructured before to great success, and they might have been able to do it again if not for the economic crash of 2008. Up against intense financial pressure, GM gave Pontiac one last lap before retiring it for good in 2010.
Pontiac, fuel for the soul.
Number 4. BlackBerry phones. Before Android and iOS dominated the cell phone space,
my mom had this
flat before retiring it for good in 2010.
Pontiac, fuel for the soul.
Number 4. BlackBerry phones. Before Android,
she had this exact BlackBerry.
Android and iOS dominated the cell phone space, there was a third contender in the ring.
For much of the mid to late 2000s, Research in Motion's BlackBerry was the most popular smartphone brand in the US, and it wasn't close.
Well, actually, there was 4, but Sony's Ericsson phones failed to put up much of a fight. BlackBerry, on the other hand, was a worthwhile rival during the 2000s.
What do you call it? It's called a BlackBerry.
Their name recognition was second to none, and they had the slick product to back it up, at least at first. Unfortunately, they couldn't evolve fast enough to match the ever-changing landscape.
Introducing the new BlackBerry Classic, with more power and control than ever before.
As Android and iOS flourished into the 2010s, BlackBerry lost almost 3/4 of its sales numbers. Their last product came out in 2018, and no one's heard anything from them since. Number
I've seen
3,
that ad.
VCR.
That
They didn't
VCR.
call it appointment television for nothing.
Muriel, you're missing your favorite show.
For decades, if you wanted to watch something on TV, you had to be in the right place, at the right time, on the right channel. Then, out of nowhere, came the VCR. Suddenly, all it took was a handy VHS tape, and you could record anything on TV for future viewing.
Suppose it's over 3 hours. Relax. Panasonic VHS tapes up to 4 hours of sports, movies, specials on one cassette.
It completely changed the game, and immediately everybody wanted in on the profit. In came DVDs, which were easier, cheaper, and more reliable than VHS tapes. When that sank, the need for videocassette players went with it. The very last VCR manufacturer ceased production in 2016.
Have you ever heard of a VCR?
No, I haven't.
Number 2,
She's like what? Damn, I'm so black. She's like what? 8, 7 years old? Of course she does it. Somehow I remember using VCR, VHS, and a CD, DVD player, all that shit when I was a kid. I go, that's kind of, now I think about it, it's kind of cool to experience the old shit that my peoples had to use until, versus now.
MP3 players. The music business is a tough
MP
place to
players?
stay relevant in. Case in point, Microsoft's epic failure in the Zune.
Don't tell me this is Zune bad.
But for every one of those, there was the iPod, a music player that just did everything right.
Everyone wants the iPod. It's a huge hit. It is almost a Christmas miracle.
And yet, even that couldn't stay afloat forever. The story is the same all around. They all failed to stay relevant. Just as soon as MP3 players reached their stride, smartphones had developed enough to do the exact same thing. The iPhone eclipsing the iPod is a good metaphor for what happened to just about every MP3 player on the market. Nobody needed them anymore. And that's that.
Tunes? Man, I remember back in, I think, 5th grade or 4th grade. So, for, I think, lunch. No, for breakfast, we had this little cereal thing, like a cup, like the cereal, the Cinnamon Toast Crunch in the bottom, and then, like, some cream or whatever, and then, I think it was, like, pineapples or whatever. But, like, some of those, if you check out the bottom, if there's, like, a sticker on it, that means you win the MVP player. So I went to the lady. Now I think about probably some racist shit, because I didn't get none. Because she was talking to me about some history of the bullshit. I'm like, lady, just let me know if I getting this shit or not. I was like, yo, I ain't gonna lie, you just wasted 2 minutes of my time of telling me this nonsense. Just tell me if I win or not. And if y'all didn't do it, what's the point of having it in the first place?
My old iPod, we could rock out.
Before we continue, be sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Wasted like 2 or 3
Number
minutes of
1,
my life.
Internet Explorer. From Netscape Navigator's ashes, Microsoft grew a web browser with a legacy that speaks for itself.
Internet Explorer was a fixture on nearly all Windows PCs
From Netscape Navigator's ashes, Microsoft grew a web browser with a legacy that speaks for itself.
Internet Explorer was a...
Damn, I forgot Internet Explorer used to look like this. Damn, I'll be typing up www.cartoonnetwork.com, man. Hey, Frugal? Damn, OG Google logo. Damn. Shit, I'm old.
Fixture on nearly all Windows PCs from the mid-1990s to the mid-2000s.
MySpace.
At its peak, Internet Explorer had an absolute gargantuan 95% market share. If that doesn't speak to its status, nothing will. Unfortunately for Microsoft, the browser war didn't end there.
You see, Microsoft tried to set its early versions of IE apart from its competitors by focusing on adding new features rather than simply trying to make the browser as fast as possible.
Firefox, Google Chrome, and Safari all entered the fray in the coming years, each taking a noticeable chunk out of Internet Explorer's user base.
So with that, IE's market share dropped precipitously, and yet Microsoft still didn't seem to be seriously trying to address the problem.
Eventually, the once mighty browser was forced to cut its losses and relaunch as the new and improved Microsoft Edge.
Microsoft
Given how quickly
Edge.
it lost support among both users and developers, it's clear that Internet Explorer 12 isn't coming anytime soon.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other...
Hey man, blast from the past, I guess. Hey, comment, subscribe if you like the video. Let me know some old products that you remember that you used to have or your parents used to have back in the day that y'all don't use anymore. Let me know in the comments below, but I'm out.